Early on the morning of our 10th wedding anniversary, a giant bouquet of 99 red roses from my husband arrived at our company's front desk. My coworkers gathered around, squealing with envy, gushing about how we were still as madly in love as newlyweds even after a decade of marriage. But as I was getting a vase to arrange the flowers, I overheard the cleaning ladies gossiping in the breakroom. Elena is so clueless. Ethan literally brought his side piece into the company 3 years ago, and she still has no idea. Exactly. Every anniversary, he gets his wife a generic bouquet of roses, but he buys his little mistress designer bags, sports cars, and luxury apartments. It's pretty obvious who he actually loves, right? My heart violently seized. A year ago, Ethan said he wanted to buy a luxury condo downtown, claiming it would be convenient for hosting high-end clients. I bought it. Last month, he wanted to upgrade his car to a Porsche, saying it would make him look more professional when meeting investors. I put down the deposit. And just last week, he asked me to use my VIP account at Hermes to buy a bunch of lifestyle accessories, claiming he needed to gift a VIP client a rare handbag. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my hand. Hi, is this Mrs. Elena Vance? The limited edition Hermes Birkin you ordered has arrived at our boutique. I took a deep breath, turned on my heel, and headed straight to the luxury store. Since these things were never meant for clients in the first place, it was time for me to take them all back. Hey babe, did that Hermes bag you helped me order finally arrive? I had just walked into the private VIP lounge and picked up the limited edition orange Birkin, which required over $100,000 in pre-spending, when Ethan's call came through. I looked up and caught the sales associate's smile freezing on her face. So my husband had his own eyes and ears inside the store. Yeah, I just got it, I replied, my voice sounding flat even to my own ears. Ethan's voice was instantly pumped with excitement. Awesome. I'll swing by and grab it after work. I actually have a dinner meeting with a major client tonight to lock down that new project. I slowly ran my fingers over the supple, pebbled leather of the bag. It was the classic Hermes orange. Bright, flashy, and attention-grabbing. I had always hated loud colors like this. Most of Ethan's high-profile business clients were around my age. None of them would realistically carry a bag in the shade. That was why, when I placed the order last week, I had specifically requested a classy, understated A-taupe gray. Which client are you gifting this to? I can just have my assistant deliver it directly to their office, I said casually. Silence stretched over the line for 2 agonizing seconds. Babe, come on, it's our anniversary today. Why would I want to stress you out with work errands? Ethan chuckled nervously. Plus, you haven't been involved in this specific project. You wouldn't be able to chat with them about the details if they ask. He was dodging the question, talking in circles. Since last year, Ethan had practically moved into the gym. He was constantly flexing his new abs in the mirror and spending 30 minutes styling his hair every single morning before leaving for work. My best friend had joked once, asterisk, is your husband going through a midlife crisis? Or is he having an affair? Asterisk. I had laughed it off back then. Ethan and I had been together for 10 years, surviving the transition from college sweethearts to business partners. I was the one who stood by him when he had absolutely nothing. I was the one who ignored my wealthy family's warnings and used my own inheritance and connections to fund a startup. I watched him grow from a clueless boy into a polished CEO. We survived the worst of times together. Why couldn't we share the best of times? My eyes burned with unshed tears. Fine. Come pick it up now then, I said, hanging up before he could respond. I closed my eyes. Memories of us huddling together in our cramped, freezing studio apartment years ago flashed across my mind. But they were instantly shattered by the image of him today, meticulously styling his hair in front of the vanity. As it turned out, the pain of a breaking heart was far worse than physical labor. My hands trembled as I unlocked my phone and texted the real estate broker who had helped us buy the downtown condo last year. I need you to sell the downtown condo immediately. List it for $1 million cash today. The broker replied almost instantly. Elena, are you serious? That is way below market value. You paid nearly double that amount last year. My heart felt completely numb. Just sell it. Today. Right after I locked my phone, Ethan rushed into the VIP lounge. Babe, what made you decide to come pick up the bag yourself today? I glanced at my watch. It had taken him less than 20 minutes to get here. Was he really that terrified of me uncovering his little secret? The store manager called me and said my VIP order was ready, so I happened to be in the area, I said smoothly. Ethan shot a sharp, warning glare at the sales associate, Sarah. But when he turned back to me, his face softened into his usual warm, loving expression. I smiled faintly, pretending not to notice their little exchange. By the way, Ethan, I distinctly remember ordering the A-taupe gray last week. Why did Sarah hand me an orange one? Ethan's face went stiff, and he fell silent. I tapped my fingers on the luxury bag and turned my gaze to Sarah. This isn't the bag I ordered. You've completely wasted my time and my husband's. I paused, my voice cold. Should I file a formal complaint with corporate? Sarah panicked, shooting a desperate, pleading look at Ethan. But Ethan remained quiet, sweat practically beads on his forehead. No, ma'am. It wasn't my mistake. Your husband was the one who, Sarah started to stammer. Ethan quickly cut her off. Babe, the bag is actually for the client's daughter. He lied smoothly, flashing a reassuring smile. I was worried a young girl wouldn't like the boring gray you chose, so I called Sarah back and had her switch it to the orange one. A young girl? I caught my reflection in the polished glass storefront. I still looked virtually the same as I did 10 years ago, stylish, sharp, and well-kept. But in his eyes, I was already the old wife. Sensing the tension, Sarah quickly pulled a silk scarf from the display cabinet and placed it gently near my hand. I am so sorry, Mrs. Vance. This was miscommunication on our part for not notifying you beforehand. Please accept our sincerest apologies. Ethan reached over, rubbing his hand through my hair, and slid close to me on the plush velvet sofa. To avoid office gossip, he had always refused to show any form of physical affection toward me at the office. I felt a wave of discomfort and subtly shifted away from his touch. He frowned slightly, then gave Sarah a quick wink. Sarah, go grab some of your latest arrivals. Let my wife pick out whatever she wants. Watching him play the doting, guilty husband made me feel physically sick. I rarely visited this boutique myself. Usually, whenever he claimed a client needed a gift, I would just call and put it on my card. But seeing how comfortable and familiar he was with Sarah, it was obvious he had been spending a lot of time and my money in this store. Babe, I know you're upset about the color mix-up, Ethan cooed, trying to wrap his arm around my waist. Tell you what, whatever you want in the store today, it's on me. Happy anniversary. Sarah brought out a dozen gorgeous bags, laying them out in front of me. Every color, every style. But I felt absolutely nothing. I waved my hand dismissively. Forget it. I have a meeting with some partners this afternoon anyway. I looked at him. Didn't you say you had to deliver that gift to your client? You should get going. Right on cue, Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket. He quickly planted a soft kiss on my forehead. Don't be mad at me, okay? I promise to make it up to you tonight. I watched him stand up, check his phone, and practically skip out of the boutique. His steps were so light, so full of anticipation. I let out a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. You really can't hide the energy of someone who is freshly in love. I had been so blind for so long, busy running the actual business, while he was out playing boyfriend. The moment he disappeared from view, I stood up and walked over to Sarah. I want to see the full transaction history under his authorized user card. Sarah looked me up and down, a hint of hesitation in her eyes. I'm sorry, Mrs. Vance, but that is private client information. We aren't authorized to share transaction details without the primary user's consent. There was a subtle, condescending smirk on her face, as if she assumed I was just a wealthy trophy wife throwing a tantrum. Even if you complain to corporate, our policy stands, she added. I reached into my Chanel wallet, pulled out my Centurion black card, and slammed it onto the glass counter. Sarah's eyes went wide, and her smug attitude instantly evaporated. The card he uses? It's just an authorized user card linked directly to my primary account, I said, my voice deadpan. Now, do I have the right to see where my money is going? Sarah bowed her head quickly, taking the card with trembling hands. Of course, ma'am. I will pull up the records immediately. A second later, the computer screen populated with page after page of transaction history. In the past month alone, there was over $80,000 of spending on high-end jewelry, women's shoes, and ready-to-wear pieces. I scanned the customer profile linked to those purchases. The phone number listed wasn't Ethan's. I memorized the number instantly. Print the entire history out for me. Now. Holding the thick stack of printed receipts, I walked out of the store into the crisp afternoon air. I pulled out my phone and texted my personal assistant, Amy. Find out who owns this phone number immediately. Also, run a forensic audit on Ethan's personal bank accounts and our corporate expense reports for the last 3 years. Less than 2 minutes later, Amy replied, Elena, I found it. The phone number is registered to Chloe Miller, our front desk receptionist. When I walked back into our corporate headquarters, I immediately spotted a group of girls crowded around the reception desk. That bright, limited edition orange Hermes Birkin was being passed around like a trophy. Oh my God, Chloe. This bag is absolutely stunning. Isn't this virtually impossible to get? One of the girls squealed in awe. I walked over, casually reached into the circle and snatched the bag right out of their hands. I examined it for a few seconds. Yep. It was the exact bag I had just authorized at the boutique. It is incredibly hard to get, I said, looking up with a cold smile. I've been on the wait list for a month and couldn't even get my hands on one. Chloe's face instantly twisted in annoyance. She snatched the bag back from my hands, clutching it to her chest. Well, my boyfriend bought it for me. Doesn't Elena's husband buy her things like this? Chloe smirked, her voice dripping with malice. Oh, wait. I guess when a man has to go home to a wrinkly, exhausted wife every day, he probably doesn't feel like buying her luxury gifts anyway. The other girls exchanged knowing, amused glances, clearly enjoying the drama. Yeah, did Elena only get a cheap bouquet of roses for her anniversary today? One whispered. My boyfriend says roses are so basic. They're just for show. If a man really loves you, he buys you the best, Chloe bragged, tossing her curled hair. I looked at the smug, mocking faces of the girls around her. It clicked. The entire office knew Ethan was sleeping with a receptionist. I was the only fool kept in the dark, working myself to the bone to fund their lifestyle. The pain in my chest was so suffocating I could barely breathe. Since we got married, Ethan had stopped buying me real gifts. He always used the same excuse. Babe, we've been together forever. My money is your money. There's no point in wasting cash on flashy gifts. Yet every single anniversary, he'd order a generic bouquet of roses. He used to tell me roses represented eternal devotion. But the truth was, I hated roses. I had sent him countless hints on Pinterest of the wildflowers and orchids I actually liked. But the next year, it would be the same lazy roses. I had always excused it, thinking he was just a typical, clueless guy who didn't understand aesthetics. But he wasn't clueless at all. He knew exactly how to pick out the perfect, vibrant orange bag for his 20-something mistress. He knew how to buy her a BMW and rent her a luxury condo. He didn't lack effort. He just didn't want to waste it on me. Seeing that I remained silent, Chloe grew even bolder, puffing her chest out. Oh dear, is Elena going to cry? She mocked. It's just a bag. If you want one so bad, I have plenty of older designer bags in my closet. I can toss you one of my hand-me-downs if you ask nicely. Over the past 2 years, Chloe had been showing up to work every day draped in different designer brands. I had actually wondered once how a receptionist making $15 an hour could afford a wardrobe like that. I had naively assumed she was just a spoiled trust fund kid working an easy job for fun. Who would have thought that her lavish lifestyle was entirely funded by my sweat and tears? Half the bags she owned were ordered through my own VIP accounts. A cold rage surged through my veins, but my face became terrifyingly calm. No thank you, I said, my voice ice cold. Keep your trash to yourself. Chloe rolled her eyes and gasped dramatically, covering her mouth. Are you jealous, Elena? But honestly, you're pushing 40. This bright orange really doesn't suit an older, washed-up woman like you anyway. I let out a sharp, mocking laugh. You're right. This color doesn't suit me. It suits a pathetic, home-wrecking gold digger perfectly. Chloe's face flushed red with anger, her eyes instantly welling with fake tears. What did you just call me? Elena, just because your husband doesn't love you anymore doesn't give you the right to abuse your employees. The other girls quickly chimed in to defend her. Yeah, Elena, just because you have marriage problems doesn't mean you can bully Chloe. No wonder Ethan always looks so exhausted and miserable around the office. Having a toxic boss for a wife must be a nightmare. They were already treating Chloe like she was the next CEO's wife. I stared at Chloe with absolute detestation. You know exactly what you are. I didn't waste another second arguing with them. I turned around and walked straight back to my office. Ugh, whatever. She only got her position because of Ethan anyway. Without him, she's absolutely nothing. I know, right? Don't let her get to you, Chloe. You're young, beautiful, and actually capable. Soon enough, you'll. They're loud. Petty whispers echoed down the hallway. I got my position because of Ethan? A dark, mocking smile spread across my face. I pulled out my phone and messaged my assistant. Amy, cancel the Friday happy hour early dismissal for everyone involved in that conversation at the front desk. The silence in my corner office wasn't peaceful. It was the quiet before a demolition. I sat behind my executive mahogany desk, the heavy stack of printed Hermes transaction receipts resting beside a crystal tumbler of ice water. Outside my floor-to-ceiling glass wall, the open-plan office bustled with activity. Through the glass, I could see Chloe at the front desk, lounging in her chair, holding up her newly acquired orange Birkin for 2 junior analysts to admire. My phone buzzed. It was Amy. Elena, I just ran the preliminary forensic pass, she said, her voice tight. With restraint. It's worse than we thought. He didn't just use your personal cards. Ethan has been running fake consulting invoices through Vance Media's shell accounts in Nevada. I didn't flinch. How much? Over the last 24 months? 2.8 million. He routed 300,000 directly to an LLC registered under Chloe Miller's mother's name. That's how he paid for her lease options and her sports car down payments. Amy paused, taking a breath. Elena, he also leveraged your family's trust guarantee to secure a $5 million credit line for the new green energy venture. He listed himself as the sole voting member. I swirled the ice in my glass. The clinking sound was sharp and steady. Cancel his authorized status on all Vance family trusts immediately, I said, smoothly. Pull the primary guarantee on that credit line. Let the bank know the guarantor signature was authorized under fraudulent misrepresentation. Understood. What about the Porsche? Call the dealership, I ordered, my voice dropping an octave. Inform them that the deposit was made using funds from an account currently undergoing a criminal audit. Demand an immediate refund back to the primary source account, my personal account. If they hesitate, mention our corporate legal team. And the downtown condo? My phone vibrated with an incoming text before I could answer Amy. It was from Marcus, the real estate broker. Elena, the cash buyer just signed the purchase agreement. 1 million straight. Wire, no contingencies, 30-minute closing process. Keys and possession. Transfer immediately upon wire confirmation. Are you absolutely sure about this? Price. I typed back without a second's hesitation. Sign it. Eviction notice attached. Execute immediate physical possession. The condo is sold, Amy, I told my assistant. Have our security team and the court marshal meet the new buyer's locksmith at the property in 2 hours. Ethan told Chloe she could stay there until the end of the year. Amy noted, a cold chuckle escaping her lips. She's been posting Instagram stories all week, tagging it as our penthouse. Then she has 2 hours to clear out her trash, I replied calmly. Or the new owner will throw it into the street for her. I hung up, opened my laptop, and accessed the master corporate administrative portal. When Ethan and I built Vance Enterprises, he wanted to be the public face, the charismatic CEO who did late-night dinners, shook hands with investors, and sat for magazine covers. I let him play the part because I prefer the shadows, controlling the capital, the operations, and the legal framework. He had forgotten a crucial detail. While his name was on the building, my name was on 75% of the voting shares, the operating agreements, and every single banking authority document. He thought I was a weary, aging wife content with cheap red roses and quiet evenings. He thought my silence was weakness. I opened the HR management portal, navigated to the front desk division, and pulled up Chloe Miller's profile. Salary, $42,000. Role, senior receptionist. I clicked on her system permissions, revoked her access badge to the executive floor, and initiated an immediate suspension pending financial review. Then, I looked at my wrist. 2:15 p.m. Ethan's car key was sitting right in my desk drawer, a spare key to the Audi R8. He drove every day, a vehicle registered under Vance Holdings, of which I was the primary board director. I picked up the desk phone and dialed our head of fleet operations. Dave, the black Audi R8 in space 01. Tow it to the auction yard immediately. We're liquidating non-essential corporate assets. Mrs. Vance? But isn't that Mr. Vance's personal? Now, Dave, I cut in softly. Before I review the fleet management budget. Yes, ma'am. Right away. I leaned back in my leather chair, taking a sip of the ice water. The game had finally begun, and Ethan didn't even know he was on the board. By 4 p.m., Ethan had not returned to the office. According to his public calendar, he was supposed to be in client meetings. In reality, my private investigator's real-time GPS tracker placed his phone at an upscale day spa 4 miles away, followed by a reservation at a 5-star hotel lounge. Meanwhile, Chloe stood up from her desk at 4:30 p.m., grabbing her bright orange Hermes bag and her designer coat. She preened in front of the lobby mirror, adjusting her hair while whispering loudly to the junior receptionist next to her. I'm taking off early, Chloe announced, ensuring her voice carried across the lobby. Mr. Vance, said I don't need to stress over administrative hours. I have a hair appointment before a late dinner. Must be nice, the junior girl sighed enviously. Where are you staying tonight? Oh, At our downtown condo, Chloe said with a dramatic wave of her manicured hand. The view of the skyline is to die for. Ethan had the master bedroom, custom designed for me. She strutted toward the elevator bay, her red bottoms clicking loudly on the polished marble floor. I watched her vanish into the elevator shaft from my glass balcony. I pulled out my phone and dialed the court-martial. Marshall Davis? The wire cleared 5 minutes ago. The property belongs to the new holding firm. You are cleared to enforce immediate trespass rules. Understood, Mrs. Vance. We are at the door now. At 5:10 p.m., Chloe arrived at the luxury high-rise downtown. She glided into the private elevator, tapped the penthouse keycard, and stepped into the sprawling, two-story sunlit condo. She threw her luxury bag onto the Italian marble island, poured herself a glass of chilled champagne from the built-in wine cellar, and walked over to the floor-to-ceiling windows to take a selfie. Click. She was just about to post the photo with the caption, "Home Sweet Home with my king," when a loud, violent knock rattled the heavy oak front door. Chloe frowned, setting her glass down in annoyance. Who is it? If that's room service, you're at the wrong door. The door didn't open with a keycard. Instead, the heavy metallic click of a drill resounded through the lock cylinder. Within 30 seconds, the lock core was drilled out, and the door swung open. 3 men in tactical uniform, accompanied by an attorney in a sharp gray suit, and 2 locksmiths, stepped into the foyer. Chloe shrieked, backing up against the kitchen island. What the hell are you doing? Who gave you permission to break into my home? Do you have any idea who owns this place? Ethan Vance, the CEO of Vance Enterprises. The attorney stepped forward, unbuttoning his suit jacket and pulling a thick stack of court-stamped documents from his briefcase. Miss Chloe Miller? The attorney asked coldly. Yes. And you are trespassing. I'm calling the police. She snatched her phone off the counter, her hands shaking violently. You don't need to call them. Marshall Davis is right here, the attorney replied, gesturing to the lead officer. This property was sold 2 hours ago in an all-cash liquidation transaction by the sole legal title holder, Mrs. Elena Vance. The new owner has taken immediate physical possession. Chloe's breath hitched. What? That's impossible. Ethan bought this for me. He owns this. Mr. Vance never owned this property, the attorney said, handing her the deed. Paperwork. The property was purchased solely using Mrs. Vance's inheritance funds and registered under her personal land trust. Mr. Vance had zero legal equity in this unit. As of 4 p.m. today, this unit belongs to Apex Capital Holding. No. You're lying, Chloe screamed, her face twisting in sheer panic. Ethan told me. Miss Miller, Marshall Davis interrupted, his voice stern and unyielding. You have 10 minutes to collect your personal belongings. Anything left behind will be classified as abandoned property and placed in commercial storage at your expense. 10 minutes. All my clothes are here. My shoes. My jewelry. 9 minutes and 50 seconds, the marshal deadpanned, looking at his watch. Panicking, Chloe grabbed her phone and dialed Ethan's number. Across town, Ethan was sitting in a high-end lounge, sipping scotch and admiring a picture of a vintage watch he planned to buy next week. His phone buzzed. Hey babe, Ethan answered casually, leaning back. Did you like the bag? I told you Sarah would get the right color. Ethan, they are kicking me out. Chloe shrieked into the mic, her voice shrill, enough to attract the attention of nearby patrons. Ethan sat up straight, his forehead creasing. What? Who is kicking you out? Speak clearly, Chloe. The police. A lawyer. Some new owner. They drilled the locks off the condo. They say Elena sold the building. Chloe was crying hysterically now, grabbing designer coats from the closet and stuffing them wildly into garbage bags provided by the locksmiths. They said you don't own anything. They said Elena owns everything. Ethan's heart dropped into his stomach. A cold droplet of sweat trickled down his neck. That's impossible. Elena wouldn't. She doesn't even know about the condo listing mechanics. Ethan stammered, his voice losing its usual smooth confidence. Put the lawyer on the phone. He won't talk to you. Ethan, do something. They're putting my trash bags out in the hallway. Ethan slammed his scotch glass onto the table, standing up so fast his chair scraped loudly against the floor. I'm coming down there right now. Don't worry, baby. I'll fix this. It's just a misunderstanding with our asset manager. He rushed out of the lounge and ran toward the valet stand, whipping out his Corporate Centurion card to pay the tab. Sir, your card was declined, the bartender called out, running after him. Ethan froze. Declined? Don't be ridiculous. Try it again. It's a black card. I tried 3 times, Mr. Vance. It says, account suspended by primary holder. Ethan's blood ran cold. He fumbled through his leather wallet, pulling out his personal Visa card. Try this one. Declined. Insufficient funds. A prickle of utter horror began to spread across Ethan's chest. He pulled out $200 bills from his clip, threw them at the bar, and sprinted to the valet stand. My car. The black Audi R8. Quick. The valet manager looked at him with an awkward, pitying expression. Mr. Vance, a flatbed tow truck came and hauled your vehicle away about 40 minutes ago. Ethan gasped, his eyes wide. Hauled it away? On whose authority? A lady named Mrs. Vance, the valet said, holding out a signed repossession order. She had the master title and the corporate authorization keys. Ethan stood frozen under the bright valet lights, the cold evening air biting into his face. For the first time in 10 years, he felt the terrifying, crushing weight of reality crushing down on him. Elena didn't just know. She was systematically stripping him naked. By 7 p.m., the grand ballroom of the St. Regis Hotel was filled with elite investors, corporate board members, and city officials. It was the Vance Enterprises' 10th anniversary gala, a night designed to celebrate the company's decade of explosive growth. Vance Media was slated to announce its new $20 million tech acquisition tonight, a deal that would solidify Ethan's status as a top business executive in the region. Ethan had taken an Uber to the venue, his suit slightly disheveled, his phone buzzing incessantly with panic messages from Chloe. Ethan, where are you? I'm standing on the sidewalk with 4 garbage bags of my clothes. My luxury shoes are getting ruined in the rain. Ethan, answer me. My card was declined at the hotel down the street. Ethan aggressively swiped the notifications away, breathing heavily as he adjusted his bow tie in the ballroom lobby mirror. He needed to focus. He needed to find Elena, play the devoted husband, play off the condo sale as a tragic financial mix-up, and convince her to reactivate his corporate accounts before the board meeting tomorrow morning. She's just throwing a temporary tantrum, Ethan muttered to himself, smoothing his hair back with shaking hands. She loves me. She's sacrificed 10 years for me. She won't actually destroy us. The heavy double doors of the ballroom swung open. Ethan put on his trademark charming smile, stepping into the room. Several board members waved at him, raising their champagne glasses. Ethan, fantastic night, called out Arthur Vance, no relation, one of our primary institutional investors. Where is the star of the show? Where's Elena? She should be arriving shortly, Arthur. Ethan lied smoothly, taking a glass of sparkling wine from a waiter's tray. You know how she is, finalizing details until the very last minute. Wonderful woman, Arthur remarked, swirling his glass. Honestly, Ethan, when you brought her father's trust capital into this firm 10 years ago, we knew the venture was backed by real strength. You're a lucky man. Ethan's smile faltered slightly. He hated being reminded that Elena's money was the foundation of his empire. Yes, well, hard work from both of us, Arthur. Suddenly, the murmurs in the ballroom quieted. Heads began to turn toward the grand staircase. I stepped into the light. I was wearing a floor-length, backless silk dress in silver gray, sleek, understated, and commanding. My hair was swept up, revealing a pair of rare diamond drop earrings. Around my neck sat an understated, custom platinum necklace. No bright orange. No loud, despre colors. Just pure, unadulterated elegance. Beside me walked Amy, holding a crisp black leather portfolio. Ethan caught his breath. For a fraction of a second, seeing me like this reminded him of the woman who used to command every boardroom in Chicago before she decided to lift him into the spotlight. He quickly rushed toward the bottom of the stairs, holding out his hand to play the dutiful, affectionate husband for the crowd. Babe, Ethan whispered under his breath, his smile strained, his eyes darting around nervously. You look stunning. Look, we need to talk privately about what happened today. There's been a massive misunderstanding with the bank and Chloe. I stepped past his outstretched hand without making contact, gliding smoothly onto the floor. Not now, Ethan, I said, my voice smooth as silk, loud enough for nearby investors to hear. Tonight is our anniversary. We have a presentation to make. Ethan swallowed hard, his hand hanging awkwardly in the air. He forced a chuckle, trying to save face in front of Arthur and the board. Right, of course. The anniversary presentation. Ethan stammered, following. Half a step behind me like a disgraced puppy. Listen, Elena, please, my card was declined at the lounge. The R8 was towed. What is going on? I stopped, turning around to face him. I reached up and gently adjusted his
lapel pin.
Did you like the 99 red roses you sent to the office this morning, Ethan? I asked softly. Ethan blinked, confused. What? Yeah, I sent them to show everyone how much I love you. They were cheap, I whispered, my smile cold enough to freeze blood. Generic. Lazy. Just like your excuses. Before Ethan could process my words, the chimes sounded through the ballroom. Sound system.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ladies and gentlemen, the master of ceremonies announced over the microphone. Please direct your attention to the main stage. The CEO of Vance Enterprises, Mr. Ethan Vance, and Vice Chairwoman Mrs. Elena Vance will now present the 10th anniversary milestone address. Applause erupted through the room. Ethan tried to reach for my waist as we walked toward the stage, but I stepped ahead, taking the podium first. He had no choice but to stand beside me, forcing a stiff, terrified smile as the stage lights hit his pale face. Thank you, everyone. I spoke into the microphone, my voice echoing clearly.
Through the speaker system.
10 years ago, Ethan and I started this company in a drafty, freezing studio apartment. Today, we stand here with over 200 employees and tens of millions in market valuation. The audience applauded. Ethan took a deep breath, relaxing his shoulders.
Slightly.
She's going to play along, he thought. She won't ruin our corporate reputation in public. Many of you have praised Ethan for his leadership, his vision, and his dedication. I continued, turning my head to look Ethan dead in the eye.
And
tonight, on our 10th wedding anniversary, I want to share the true secret behind his incredible success. I looked at Amy at the back of the room. Amy pressed a key on the central AV console. Let's take a look at the special milestone deck we prepared, I said smoothly. The massive 4K LED screen behind us flickered to life. Instead of the corporate growth charts and the $20 million tech acquisition deck, the giant screen displayed a crystal-clear, high-definition document. It was an audited bank ledger. At the top, highlighted in bright yellow ink, were the words, Vance Enterprise. Fraudulent disbursements. Audit report. The room went dead silent. What is this? Arthur Vance muttered from the front row, putting on his reading glasses. Ethan's eyes went wide as saucers.
Elena.
Stop. What are you doing? He hissed, lunging toward the computer terminal on the podium. I casually stepped in front of him, blocking his path with effortless poise. As you can see on the screen, I announced calmly to the 300 guests, over the past 3 years, Mr. Vance has systematically diverted $2.8 million of corporate investment funds into personal shell accounts. Slide change. A series of bank transfers appeared on the screen, detailing exact payments. $120,000 custom Porsche down payment, source, R&D account. $450,000 downtown condo lease and furnishings, source, client entertainment. Budget. $180,000 luxury goods purchases at Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier, source. Authorized corporate card. Below the list was a high-resolution portrait of our front desk receptionist, Chloe Miller, wearing the orange Hermes Birkin bag, posing inside the luxury condo, and driving the BMW Ethan had leased for her. The room erupted into gasps and furious whispers. Is that the receptionist? My God, he's embezzling company capital to buy his mistress designer bags. Look at those numbers. That's client acquisition. Money. Ethan's face turned completely white, every drop of blood draining from his features. Sweat poured down his forehead, soaking his high-end collar. It's fake. This is a lie. She's crazy. Ethan screamed into his lapel mic, his voice cracking hysterically. She's jealous. She's making this up because we're having marriage problems. Are we having marriage problems, Ethan? I asked sweetly, leaning toward the microphone. Or are you having legal problems? Slide change. An audio file autoplayed through the high-end ballroom speakers. Ethan's clear, recognizable voice boomed over the crowd. Don't worry, Chloe baby. Elena is totally clueless. She works 80 hours a week running the operational backend while I sign the papers. Once I transfer the green energy shares to our Nevada account, I'll file for divorce and leave her with the debt.
She's getting old anyway.
She doesn't deserve a guy like me. Then Chloe's giggling voice followed. Oh, Ethan, you're so bad. Make sure you get me that orange Birkin first though. Anything for my real queen, baby. The audio cut off. The silence in the grand ballroom was deafening. Board members were standing up, their faces dark with thunderous rage. Investors were pulling out their phones, frantically calling their legal teams. You bastard! Arthur Vance shouted from the front row, pointing an angry finger at Ethan. You used our capital investment to fund your whore?
No.
Arthur, listen to me. It was a joke. Context. Ethan stammered, falling over his own feet as he backed away from the edge of the stage. Elena, please. Turn it off. Delete it. Just then, the heavy double doors at the back of the ballroom burst open. Chloe Miller ran into the room. She looked like an absolute disaster. Her hair was tangled from the rain, her mascara was smeared down her cheeks, and she was wearing wet silk pajamas under a trench coat. She was dragging 2 large black trash bags behind her, weeping loudly. Ethan, Chloe screamed, ignoring the 300 elite guests staring at her. In utter shock, the police threw all my things in the street. You said you would protect me. You said you owned that apartment. She stumbled down the central aisle, dumping the trash bags right at the foot of the stage. High-end shoes, lingerie, and half-open makeup containers spilled out onto the pristine red carpet. Look at me, Chloe cried, clutching her orange Birkin like a life raft. You promised me a Porsche. The dealer called and said the deposit was canceled for fraud. Fix it, Ethan. Fix it now. The crowd gasped again. Several journalists pulled out their phones, flashbulbs popping rapidly, capturing the pathetic spectacle. Ethan looked at Chloe, then looked at the enraged board members, then looked at the terrifyingly calm woman standing at the podium. He felt like he was drowning in shallow water. Chloe, shut up. Shut the hell up. Ethan yelled, his suave CEO persona completely shattering into a chaotic, panicking mess. Get out of here. You ruined everything. I ruined everything. Chloe shrieked back, her voice echoing through the hall. You told me your wife was a dried-up old hag who didn't know how to spend money. You lied to me. I watched the two of them turn on each other like starved animals, tearing apart whatever twisted illusion of love they thought they shared. I tapped the microphone twice. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced smoothly over the chaos. As the primary shareholding director owning 75% of Vance Enterprises, I have executed an emergency board action as of 6 o'clock this evening. I gestured to Amy, who handed a legal binder to Arthur Vance and the board members. Ethan Vance has been formally terminated from his position as Chief Executive Officer, effective immediately, for gross negligence, breach of fiduciary duty, and corporate embezzlement. Ethan gasped, staggering backward. You can't fire me.
My name is on the
company. Your name is on the sign outside, Ethan. I corrected him, looking down at him with supreme pity. My name is on the stock certificates, the bank accounts, and the building lease. I turned my eyes toward the entrance of the ballroom. 2 uniformed police officers, accompanied by investigators from the state Financial Crimes Unit, stepped into the grand hall. Mr. Ethan Vance, the lead investigator announced, his voice booming over the quieted room. We have a warrant for your arrest on counts of grand larceny, corporate embezzlement, and criminal tax fraud. Ethan's knees gave out completely. He collapsed onto the wooden stage floor, clutching the hem of my silver dress. Elena, please. Ethan sobbed, tears and sweat streaming down his face. Please, babe. I made a mistake. I was stupid. I was tempted. We can fix this. Remember our studio apartment? Remember how much we loved each other. I'll give everything back. I'll break up with Chloe. Just don't let them take me. I looked down at the man who had spent the last 3 years mocking my hard work, using my wealth to buy cheap affection, and calling me an old, clueless wife. I gently, deliberately pulled the fabric of my dress from his trembling fingers. Happy 10th anniversary, Ethan. I whispered softly, so only he could hear. I took everything back. The police stepped onto the stage, grabbed Ethan by his arms, hoisted him to his feet, and snapped the cold steel handcuffs around his wrists. Chloe tried to sneak toward the exit with her orange bag, but 2 junior investigators stopped her in the lobby. Miss Chloe Miller, you are being detained as an accomplice to corporate asset concealment.
No.
This is a designer bag. It's mine. He gave it to me. Chloe screamed as she was escorted out, her loud weeping echoing down the corridor. 1 month later, the The morning sun filtered brightly through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the top-floor executive suite at Vance and Vance Capital, formerly Vance Media. The company had undergone a complete restructuring. The board had unanimously appointed me as sole CEO and chairwoman. Under my direct leadership, the volatile stock prices had not only recovered but surged by 30%, backed by clean audits and restored investor confidence. I sat at my wide mahogany desk, sipping a hot cup of black tea. Amy walked in, placing a tablet on my desk. The criminal proceedings were finalized this morning, Amy reported with a crisp smile. Ethan pleaded guilty to grand larceny and corporate embezzlement to avoid a maximum sentence. He's been sentenced to 6 years in state prison. And the asset recovery? We successfully repossessed the Porsche down payment, liquidated his private trading accounts, and reclaimed all luxury items purchased using company funds, including the Hermes inventory from Chloe, Amy added. Chloe failed to pay her bail, her mother's shell company was dissolved, and she's currently facing civil judgments for asset conversion. She won't be buying designer bags for a very, very long time. I nodded slowly, looking out at the city skyline. What about Ethan's personal debts? Without your family trust guarantee, his private creditors foreclosed on his remaining assets. He is officially bankrupt, Amy said softly. His legal team tried to request a meeting with you regarding a reduced restitution schedule, but I denied it per your instructions. Good, I said smoothly. He isn't worth my airtime. Amy smiled, setting a fresh bouquet of flowers on the corner of my desk. They weren't red roses. They were a breathtaking arrangement of wild mountain orchids, fresh white hydrangeas, and soft lavender, vibrant, natural, understated, and free. These arrived from our European logistics partners to celebrate the new merger, Amy noted. I thought they suited your office much better. I leaned over, touching the delicate petal of a white orchid. For 10 years, I had allowed myself to be defined by a man who mistook my patience for ignorance and my silence for weakness. I had let him wear the crown I bought until he truly believed he was the king. I looked at my reflection in the dark glass of my tablet. I didn't see an aging, weary wife. I saw a woman who held total control over her destiny, her fortune, and her future. My phone chimed with a calendar alert. 10 a.m., international investor.
Keynote.
I stood up, smoothed down my crisp navy suit jacket, picked up my leather portfolio, and walked toward the boardroom doors. The air was fresh, clear, and entirely mine.